Alright guys, welcome to Brian Ninja, another video. We're finally back to the American Ninja Warrior review, so we're reviewing the season finale. I'm really sorry about the wait. I know it's been a while since I did the last review, so I'm sorry. But we're finally back, and I might have something up my sleeve today, guys, because I have a little surprise for you that I raced the reigning champion of American Ninja Warrior, Kai Beckstrand. I'm going to show you the race right now. Okay, so it might have been 8 years ago and I might have lost anyway, but who cares? It's still an amazing race nonetheless, and I got you click on the video, so I win. But yeah, no, that was from a while ago, and unfortunately, it kind of didn't go well. But if I race him again now, I'm sure I'll do better, right? I'm sure I'll win that one. But moving on to the future, and to stop making it about myself, we're talking about American Ninja Warrior today. Again, I'm sorry for the delay for this video. I wanted to do it sooner, so it was more relevant. But I started to watch it like 2 weeks ago, and I finished it, and I wrote all this notes on my paper. But then I had to study for my final exam, and I did that, and I replaced all the Ninja Warrior information with my final exam information. And I forgot what all this meant, so I was reading it, like preparing for the video, and I was like, what the heck am I looking at here? So I was like, I'm just gonna rewatch it again because I forgot everything. So my ninja knowledge is back, the important stuff is back in my head, and now I can do the review. So we're gonna start without further ado right now. So the first race today, we had 4 races from the top 32 bracket before moving on to the top 16 with extended course. But the first 4 races were from the top 32, which is on the course which has the stringing steps, which is fine. This isn't good, I can't remember already. The swinging frames, which is fine. The ring jump, when the swinging frames and ring jump are both from the 2 different versions of the qualifying course. They took one from each course to make it as even as possible, so I respect that, which we saw the other week, but I still respect it this week as well. Then we have the salmon ladder, the flowing monkey bars, and the clacker, again, which they add for this top 32 leg. I like the clacker. I think it's a good obstacle, and it works well in these races, so I like it. And it's a good change just to kind of mix up the piston plunge area with a different obstacle, so I appreciate that. And 2 things I noticed during this course, watching the course this week, not even in this part, but throughout the episode, was that on the ring jump, I believe that the ring is not actually a round, like, cylindrical ring, but I think it's like a square ring. So obviously it's a circle in terms of being a ring, but I think it's like the sides of it are like rectangular, like squared sides. Because it looked kind of, when they showed the close-ups, it looked more square. So maybe I'm either crazy or overanalyzing, or maybe it is a square ring, because to me it looked pretty square. But either way, I thought that was interesting. I might make it a bit more grippy maybe, and a bit better traction than if it was a fully round, so maybe that's why I did it, to make it a bit more manageable. And also I noticed that the flowing monkey bars aren't just like I feel like the original cradle was kind of like just a U-shaped, like this type of grip, but now it's more of like an angled, like check mark, like backwards check mark grip, which I believe makes it a bit easier to place it so you don't overshoot. I think that's what that is for, maybe, or maybe I'm just misremembering it. But I believe there's a difference there to make it a bit more manageable, because that's a tough obstacle. So those are 2 things I noticed. I noticed it before, but I figured I'd point it out this week because I didn't last time. So yeah. So okay, now we're done with the course description. Let's get on to the first races. The first one was Elijah Browning versus Max Feinberg. Here we go with the mistakes already. But this was the 2 that had moms with breast cancer, and fittingly we're in October now, thanks to me being a month late on this video, so I guess that's good for this profile piece. But they both recovered now, and they're both doing better, and you know, they both ran to raise awareness partly for breast cancer, and their moms have a close friendship because they have that shared thing. So yeah, and I'm wearing a pink, well, it's purple, I'm wearing a girl color shirt even for that, to support it. Maybe it's convenient. But then they had the race. Feinberg closed the gap. He was behind a ring jump, but he closed the gap between Lachey across it to save time. So he was behind at first, but he was able to make that up quickly on the ring jump by Lachey across. Then they had Browning, who was slightly ahead on the clacker, but he failed the Lachey to the last wheel, which gave the opening to Max Feinberg to move on, which I believe is kind of like, it looked like Browning was going to win, but then Feinberg passed him. So that's a good way to start, kind of show off the racing format and the way that someone can come from behind if the other person's going too fast. So it was a good exercise in showing the course. So yeah, that was cool. That was a good race, and it's nice that they have that connection. Unfortunate circumstantially, but nice that they have that connection, and that everyone's doing well now is very good. Then they have Naxa Gilmore versus David Wright, and this one was kind of a dead giveaway to me, that I picked David Wright to win immediately, because at the starting line they were saying how David's got his work cut out for him, because Nax has been to stage 4 multiple times. He has the obstacle streak and all that, and David, I believe they said, hasn't cleared stage 1 yet. So the fact that they said that made me think like they're only gonna say that if it's an upset, otherwise they wouldn't mention it. And I was right, because David ended up winning. So kind of like I've said before with my little like editor's notes type of things, typically when they'll kind of focus more on upsets, so they'll bring up stuff to remind you that there's gonna be an upset, and they'll show the races are more upsets. So I figured if they point that big discrepancy in success out, they'd probably win and be like the underdog, and I was right. So that helped me take make my bet. Not that I was doing a bet this week really, but I was just trying to think of like who would win, and I was right based on the way they were talking about it. And they had a story of how they're friends, so that's cool. And they kept calling David Wright Cake, which I know he's the one that likes cake, so it's fitting. But it's weird how they like just assigned that name today. I was like, Cake. I thought I misheard it, but then I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But still, then they had a close race, as I said, but Wright remained ahead. And Naxa tried to jump for the final clacker. He tried to do the two clacker move at once, which is efficient but very hard to pull off, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him, which gave the win to David Wright. So I'm happy for him. I know Naxa was definitely favored by his success rate, but it's good to see someone else do well as well. So yeah. Then they had Joe Morawski versus Kay and Forcia, and the story was basically talking about Joel's comeback, and Kay was saying that he's got to end Joel's comeback in final season. He's kind of like a little bit of trash talk back and forth, and they played that up, especially Caden to Joel, because that's kind of his thing. So they talked about that. But then it ended up being that Joel was pretty comfortably ahead, which led to Caden maybe rushing to make up ground, it looked like, and which led to him failing the stamina ladder. So that chain of events did not work out well. He failed the stamina ladder. And at that point, Joel had already won it because he was on the floating monkey bars, so he already won the race, which is good for him because he immediately failed the dismount of the floating monkey bars afterward. But he's one obstacle ahead. They fell in the same pool, but on different obstacles, so Joel was able to win it. And again, kind of very luckily keep his streak alive. And of course, maybe he would have made that if the race was still going, he might have made it through the floating monkey bars. And maybe the fact that the race was over, he didn't take it seriously and failed to dismount that way. But again, it's kind of like a very narrow margin to remain in the game. So Joel got kind of lucky again, but also kept the season alive, which is the important part here. The races, back in the old days, it's about not falling. Now it's more about winning the races, so whatever it takes to win. And Joe did just that, he won. So you can't complain too much. Then they had the Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card, which they've done before. They did that, like, last episode they did that annoying thing with, not annoying, but like redundant thing, where they showed the overhead shot of the course, which they always show, so it wasn't really significant to me. And I pointed out how that was kind of like a dumb shoehorned in thing that didn't really mean anything. This time they did another like gimmick to promote it by showing the competitor's original submission video, which I think is a better way. It's more unique. I mean, we've seen a lot of those before anyway, but it's a more unique way to like give this sponsor some recognition. So I thought that was a better idea. And they did show one of them that was really blurry, like it made my channel look high quality because it's like this grainy 100 pixel thing, and it looks like my thumbnails, you know how they're all blurry, my thumbnails, it made my thumbnails look really good. So I appreciate whoever put that video in. I think it might have been Isaiah Thomas. So yeah, he's come a long way in his submission videos, because his first one was very hard to even see the contrast, and now they're good. So yeah, I remember when I submitted my submission video, they you kind of just submit this rough draft and they'll kind of make it look good for TV if they show it. So yeah. But I thought it was interesting to see the different qualities and different styles of submission video and see how much personality I lack to do this. Because that's the problem. When you're making a submission video, they want you to have personality and like a fun, not just be a good ninja, but have like a lot of interesting stuff and be fun. And that makes it hard for certain people to get on the show. So unfortunately, that's the case. But anyway, I'm going to take a little snack break. I got these. Oh. It's going to be a big problem for the video pacing. I don't know why I did that. But okay, then we're on the final 16. The final 16, which has an extended course, it's the same first 6 obstacles, but 2 extra obstacles afterward, with the kickboards. And the kickboards we've had before, but it's basically you go on this trapeze bar, you have to swing, build up momentum, and kick this board in front of you, which has 2 wheels on it. You have to kick the wheel, and the board will raise up like this on a hinge. Then you will shake to the wheel. Then you repeat that again with the same thing, but I think it's a similar trapeze, but you have to lachey to another board. But this board this time has more of a wingnut shaped grip, which is like kind of like the lachey at the end of the clacker / piston plunge, where it's like you have to grab like 2 handles and the other part is cut off. You can only grab half of it and the other half is cut off, so you have to, it's more precise of a grab. And if you kick the thing to move it, because you have to kick it to raise it up, if you kick it and it moves, you might have it pointing in a way that it's harder to grab. So it's like a round circle. You have to kind of have a good placement and grip it the right way. So that makes it harder. Then you dismount. So that's a good obstacle. I like that. I think it generated a lot of good like back and forth and excitement. So I appreciate that for kind of near the end of the course obstacle. And then we have the last obstacle was the last obstacle was the falling shelves, which is the 4 different shelves. The first 3 are placed facing you, and the last one's facing away from you. So you have to grab these things. You swing on the first ones, they drop. Then you grab the second ones, they drop. the third, the drop, and then the fourth. You have to do the same thing. You have to lachey from the third to the fourth, but it's a backwards grab, so you have to turn your grip around. It's kind of like a blind grab because you can't see where you're going, which gets a lot of people, as we see on the past with that obstacle and other obstacles like the Angry Birds and all that. It's a tough grab, and that caught a lot of people out. That's the main way of failing this obstacle, is the final lachey, which makes it an exciting finish. I appreciate that being the last obstacle in this race. I don't like it as the final obstacle in stage 2 because I feel like it's not good to end stage 2 on like a kind of like that type of obstacle. But that now that Vegas is gone anyway, which I don't like, but considering Vegas is gone anyway, I don't mind it for this. I think it's a good application for it in this case. So it's a good way to end the course. I appreciate it. Kind of an exciting, dramatic ending. So I like that as a final obstacle. And overall, I like this course. I wish they changed a couple of the first obstacles again, like maybe the, I don't know, maybe the steps or something, but what can we do? It's very repetitive this season, so I'm kind of just used to that. But I do like the 2 additional obstacles, so I expect that. And now we're getting into the matchups. First, we have Caden Lipsack versus Jackson Ertles. They talked about Caden Lipsack's history and how he's come so far. I remember I found Caden's Instagram page like years ago, just back when I was really into Ninja. I was like browsing all his Ninja stuff. I found his page and he was doing like a 14-foot lachey, I think, which is crazy. At the time, I think now he can probably do a lot more than that. But at the time, I was like, what the heck? 14 feet lachey is crazy. And that tied Drew, the person that we can't names record on the falling shelves was 14 feet at the time. So I was very impressed that Caden could do that. And still, that distance is crazy to me. I could probably do 10 feet or 11 on a good day, but 14 is pretty big. And I haven't really progressed much in the last few years. But it's impressive. And yeah, I remember seeing him on there. And I always kind of think he's a good competitor because of that, because I've seen him for a while and see his training. He does a lot of crazy technique stuff. And now he does the one-arm pull-up stuff, which is beyond me. But yeah. So then they had the race. Ertles dismounted smoothly on the ring jump, which was a good way to get ahead and stay faster. But Caden had the smoothest clacker attempt, which was really impressive. He was on the clackers, and most people make it through the clacker, but he did something where he's like 1, 2, 1, 2. You know, it's like there's no gap or anything. He's like very smooth and flowing through it, which is huge because that's a time-consuming obstacle. So if you get through that fast, that's a big differentiation between the competitor. So the fact that he was able to do that was a big difference maker in these races, not just this race, but upcoming races as well that we'll talk about. So that's really good. And one thing I also noticed, another good technique was on the kickboards. The second lachey, which is the more precise grab, because you have the kind of wingnut shaped one that's like, you know, you have to grab a certain part of it. He was able, the thing was facing away, so it was a very bad positioning, but he kind of let go of the bar with one hand, and then he kind of led with it and reached into the lachey that way. I've seen people do that before, but it's a very like interesting technique because you have to lachey off of one hand, and he was able to do it very effectively, and he grabbed it, and that was a good time saver, and that helps him win. I mean, actually, he probably would have won anyway because his opponent failed the falling shelves, but still, that's a very efficient way to make it through and put on the pressure for your opponent. So that was cool. I appreciate that move. And then Jackson Ertles failed the falling shelves, and he got there second, so he was out anyway. So yeah. Then they had Noah Munier versus Evan White, and they talked about Noah's streak of 122 obstacles. Well, no, at the time it was 115, but by the end of at the time it was 114, but at the end of the course it was 122 because he cleared these 8 obstacles. But they point out his streak a lot. Of course, I disagree with the streak because it doesn't factor in the Vegas, the stage 4 that they failed. But they don't count stage 4 as like a failing obstacle, which I think is not accurate. But based on their count, it was at 114. And that is, you know, fully accurate or not, that's a very impressive streak. So I respect that. And unfortunately, Noah did well, but Evan White spun out on the second kickboard. The second kickboard lachey, he grabbed it, but he kind of lost grip because it spun. And that's kind of a takeaway to follow that obstacle. And Noah did almost fail the ring jump, the third obstacle at the very start. He almost failed it because he was dismounting, and he came like very much on the edge. Like this is a platform, he kind of like on the edge fell to the side, and that was a very not helpful visual. But yeah, he came close on the third obstacle, which is a very that'd be a very annoying way to falling so early on such a long course. But he didn't, and he made it through, and he won the race, so that wasn't a problem. And his streak stayed alive, so there's no question he made it through all the obstacles, and he's good. So that was an impressive race. Then they had Evan Lavalle versus Sam Folsom, and they point out that Evan is the last remaining rookie in the season, which I appreciate that little note. It's interesting. And Sam lacheyed on the last crack. The last clacker, Sam lacheyed the things over, so he lacheyed them both at once, which I said before is very impressive and very technical, and a good time saver if you can do it, so I appreciate that. And Evan had a one-handed save on the clacker as well. It was a good save, but it did delay him a little bit because he lost a couple swings back and forth by having to make that save. So he stayed in the game, but at a certain cost. And they both failed the kickboards, but Sam got there first and failed first. But the important part is that he got there first, which means that he won. He won the race first. And I'm so nasal today, guys. I'm sorry. I needed to film this review because I'm so late already. But I don't know. I can't talk because I'm so congested, I guess. I don't even know. But the important part of that is that Sam got there and won, and Evan is out. So all the rookies are out at this point, and Sam moves on. So good for him. He's had a good season. He's been doing very well recently, so that's good. But he struggled a bit on the first round of the races, but he's done well since. So there you go. Then they had RJ Roman versus Matt D'Amico, and again, I'm very in terms of ninjas, I very much support RJ Roman because he's been very supportive to me and very I see him at different competitions and stuff. And he's always says hi, always there, cheering you on. And I'm sure a lot of ninjas do that, but just the fact that I know him, I always root for him because he's cool. And so that being said, I picked Matt D'Amico just because I feel like he's been doing better this season. And unfortunately, I did this twice now. I bet against RJ Roman and he won. So my friend, or not friend, but my person I root for that I should be choosing, I keep not choosing, and then he wins, and I feel like I'm a traitor. But that being said, RJ, his strategy in these races, he's a very fast competitor. He just goes out fast and kind of puts the pressure on by going fast, and he did that in this race as well because he pulled way ahead on the ring jump, and that was one of the biggest gaps we'd seen. And D'Amico got stuck on the floating monkey bars. He was hanging by one hand. He swung back and forth a couple of times with one arm. And on that, if you have too much swing, you're going to swing off the bar if you're not controlled. And he was just dangling by one arm, swinging back and forth. After a couple of swings, he lost his grip, and he was out, which is a very big upset. And again, RJ Roman's season survived. I think they say his resurrection survived. The rock and roll resurrection. But yeah, again, just like Joe Morosky, it's a very, he's lucky to be here, but now he's making the most of it and doing well. So that's good. And RJ wanted to clear the course. So clearing the pressure, putting the pressure on his competitor was very helpful in this case, and I think that's part of the reason that Matt D'Amico made a mistake was because RJ Roman went out so fast. So I think there's something to the strategy of going really fast. I usually say on courses to not go too fast because it's risky unnecessarily, but on race courses you have to. So that being said, I think he did well and he made the right decision to go faster. And RJ's still in the game, which I'm very happy about. And hopefully next time I'll pick him to win because I keep being a traitor. And then they had the race of Kai Beckstrand versus David Wright. And during this race, I noticed that they had a lot of commentary that was very favorable to Kai. First of all, they keep pointing out how strong Kai is, which he is very in shape. But I noticed they keep pointing that out. And they also point out how he's Akbar said oh, it's gonna be very hard for David to win because Kai's so good. And when they make comments oh, that person's so good, very big blanket statements, it makes you think that they might be trying to build them up to something bigger, which they've done a lot. I feel like in this case that Kai've raised not a red flag, but it raised a flag in my mind, maybe Kai's gonna do really well this season, which he's always established a good competitor for a long time now, ever since he beat me in 2017. But no, he's been established a competitor on the show for a good time now, but for a long time now. But when they really focus on someone like that, like they have been with him recently, I feel like it's kind of a sign that they're gonna pop off, as they say. And in this case, I was kind of right because Kai did very well in this race, and Kai kicked the wheel on the kickboards. And as I said, the second wheel on the kickboards is the one that is cut off, so you have to grab the certain part because it's tapered. And he kicked it and it kept spinning, but it landed in the exactly right spot, so it's easy to grab. Which I don't know if he just has luck on his side or what, but again, it's another way that he's just getting through everything very smoothly. And yeah, he did well in this race. He linked the falling shells, which again is a good sign. He didn't need it, I don't think, because I believe that David was already out. I think. No, he might not have been out, but either way, he didn't need to link the falling shelves at all because he was comfortably gonna win it as long as he didn't fall. But the fact that he was able to do that was a very big sign okay, he can do this. First of all, he knows how to make it to the final obstacle smoothly, which is a big factor when it comes to winning future races because it's one of the big obstacles in the race. So that was good practice and a good exposition that he's gonna do well in that obstacle. So again, it showed how established Kai Beckstrand was and how he was in shape to win it. So that was very good. And yeah, you can definitely feel okay, I had a good feeling that Kai Beckstrand was gonna win it just based on how they've been building him up tonight and this season. So yeah. Then they had a fast forward with Isaiah Thomas and Max Feinberg, and Isaiah won with Max failing the kickboards. So good for Isaiah, but unfortunately Max's season is done. Then they had Ben Behrens versus Jay Lewis. I think I need to work on my names, but it basically was a short race, for lack of a better term. Not short in duration, but short in height, because they're 5'3" and 5'4" respectively. Actually, not respectively, because I don't even know which is which. But one of them's 5'3" and one of them's 5'4", so they're both relatively short for males. So that was kind of their thing in this race. And Jay Lewis said that he's been, like the Barons are kind of known for being short, but Jay has been short for a while too. So they're kind of battling out to win this race. And they're back and forth throughout the course for sure. They both failed on the following shows, but Jay got there first, which allowed him to win the race. And I noticed that Ben got twisted up on the clacker. Like he spent some extra time on the clacker that made the difference in the race, because it came down to the time to the following shows. So maybe that little twist up on the clacker made a difference. So that shows how even if you come back from behind, you might be costed later on by the slower times on previous obstacles. So yeah, so I just noticed that. But a good race, but unfortunately Ben's season is a bit shorter, and Jay's season is gonna keep going for now. So yeah. Then they had Luke Beckstrand versus Joe Morawski. And again, Joe Morawski's had like a very kind of miracle season since he announced his retirement. He's had a very big second chance in this competition. Just like RJ Roman has had a big second chance this season by qualifying as the third runner-up. But they talked about Joe's history, and I kind of had a feeling okay, they're really focusing on Joe here. This might be actually his last race. His luck might finally run out. Plus, Luke Beckstrand's a very good competitor, so that also kind of made me think that. But speaking of good competitors, look at me getting ready for my next races. But okay, so they showed Joe's history. They showed his submission video from each season, and the forecast is gonna be good for me and stuff like that. Like the different weatherman jokes he's made, starting in 2013 all the way to current. And then they showed him failing the end of stage 3 last season in 2024 on the hazard sign thing, which I haven't ever really seen him on the show because I didn't watch last season. Or I watched it, but I wasn't really watching it that much. So yeah, that was interesting. But they showed his whole kind of lineage on the show, and they showed him talking about how he can't balance everything, that he wants to try to balance everything, but you just can't, especially with kids and stuff. He wants to focus on them. So so yeah, that's kind of his justification for retiring. Not justification, but his rationale for retiring. So yeah, and Joe almost failed. He kind of almost ended early on swinging frames because he was close on the dismount, but he made it over the wall. Because the end of swing frames is not just a low platform. You have to kind of climb over his little wall, this higher up part, which he made it through, but it was kind of a narrow thing. So I'm glad his season didn't end there, because that would have been kind of a bad way to go out. So he was on the second kickboards this year. He was trying to fix the wheel for a little bit, trying to get the board higher up and fix the wheel, which is good because you have to make the grip, but it also could cost you extra time when it's not worth it. So you have to kind of weigh do you want to fix the wheel that much, or do you want to just go for it and take the chance? So again, the racing puts a lot of strategies like that you have to think about. In this case, he might regret that he fixed it, because he lost the race in the end. And he ran out of strength on the following shows. So the second to third, I believe, I think it was the second to third show. He didn't even come close. He's kind of ran out of strength completely, I think, and he's kind of airballed in the air. So unfortunately, he's done. And Luke made it through the obstacle, and he didn't just make it through, but he made it through with one hand on the final grab, which I've never really seen before. He missed it with one hand, and he held on with the other. I believe it was his left hand, but I'm probably completely wrong with that. But either way, he grabbed it with one hand and made it to the platform, which is a very impressive move. I was sad about Joe going out, but a second later, I was impressed by that. So at least he had a good move. At least Luke had a good move to cap that race off. And that's, again, kind of a good sign, just like Kai was. It's a good sign that he can make it through the obstacle and adapt. So that's a good indication for him moving forward. And a cool move. Which I wish I could do that. But then we had I'm getting lost in the paper here. Oh, I'm farther up than I thought. I still have a lot of this to go, unfortunately. Okay. Then we're in the final 8 though. We got through the final 16, now we're on the final 8. So the top 8 is same course, same thing, but it's a much more competitive lineup, because there's only 4 races and they're all gonna be very fast, because the top 8 competitors, at least the top 8, based on their performance this season. But we have Noah Munier versus RJ Roman, and I hate to say it, but I again voted against RJ Roman for the millionth time this season. I love him, but I thought that Noah would win just because he has the streak going, the 122 obstacle streak, I believe, at this time. So yeah, I did root for RJ, or I voted for Noah. I wanted RJ to win still, but I rooted for Noah to be the most likely one to win. But RJ tried to line up the wheel on the kickboards, which, like I said with Joe, it's a good thing, but it can also take time and take away your chance of winning if you do it too much and waste too much time on it. So he cleared the kickboard second, unfortunately, and that might not seem like a big deal because because it might not be that big of a difference. But they ended up both failing the falling shells. So in the end, it did come down to like getting to the falling shells first. And unfortunately, I mean, I like Noah as well a lot, but I was rooting for RJ, like I said. Unfortunately, RJ got there second and Noah got there first, which means that Noah won. But Noah shockingly ended his clear streak, which I believe ended it at 120. Wait, he cleared 7. I believe he was at 129 obstacles before he failed. So he finally ended his clear streak, unfortunately, and he made he's moving on, but he ended that streak, which it doesn't really matter because he's still moving on anyway. But it might be a slight, I'm sure it's kind of a slight confidence changer when you fail an obstacle. But he still, has a great track record, but it shows that he can fall in the water at least. Because before that, he was not falling at all. But yeah, that was. I'm sad that RJ's out, but he had a very good comeback from what looked like he was gonna go out early. So he made it to the top 8. That's pretty good, all things considered. But then they had Sam Folsom versus Caden Lepsack. Caden was fast on the clacker again. Like I said before, his clacker skills really put him ahead in a lot of races. Because that's a long obstacle, so if you can do that well, that's a big difference maker. And we saw that with him a lot. He was comfortably ahead at the falling shelves as well, and he won the race smoothly. They both finished the course, but Caden made it first, and Caden was cheering for Sam, which I respect. As always, the sportsmanship on the show is very good, and I appreciate that. And Sam finished the course and made it through as well, so that was cool to see. And I thought Caden would win, and I was right, just because, as I said, I know he's a very skilled ninja. They both are, but yeah, it was good to see them both do well and Caden move on, so good for him. Then they had the battle of the brothers with Kai Beckstrand versus Luke Beckstrand. I naturally chose Kai Beckstrand because they're both very good, but Kai would obviously just be like the favored one. If you were betting, your odds would be much better with him, but you make less money with him, I guess, because he's more likely to win. But the story is basically about how competitive they are and how they make everything a competition. But you gotta make this race very interesting, obviously, because they're very competitive naturally, and it's gonna be a big showdown on the course. So Kai was on the floor monkey bars. He's actually behind, which was very surprising to me. But again, a lot of stuff can happen in these races that makes stuff unexpected happen. But he got stuck on the floor monkey bars, and he had both hands on one bar, which kind of like a bad place to be. I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but essentially it's a bad place to be, because if you have both hands on the same bar, it's a lot slower, and you're kind of stuck, and it's gonna be hard to get to the next cradle. But he was able to recover it, but he was still behind for a while on the course, so that was a very costly difference. And that's why the floor monkey bars is such a deadly obstacle, because if you make one little technical error, you can fall or lose grip or whatever. So that's very tough. But he was able to clear it. And he saved it. And Luke was ahead all the way through the clacker. And on the kickboards, Kai was able to pass him, and he was able to link the falling shells again. So that was the difference maker, and he was able to win. But they both did well, and it was cool to see them both race. And the fact that Luke almost won was interesting, because I thought Kai was like a guaranteed winner, especially because he beat me in the race. If he could beat me, he can beat anyone. But in all seriousness, I thought Kai was a guaranteed winner. He did win, but it was closer than I thought, so that was interesting to see. Guys, I can't really read this too well. It's so dark. I'm gonna put on my glasses to see. that was dumb. Sorry, I'm bored. I'm not taking this very seriously. But I'm gonna break these up into small pieces so I can chew them comfortably while I'm talking. And what else? Okay, Isaiah Thomas versus Jay Lewis. Isaiah, they talk about he traveled the world. He set a world record on this race course in Costa Rica, which is pretty good. I mean, I'm guessing it's not as competitive as in the US probably, but still, you travel to Costa Rica and you get a world record. It's pretty good. I haven't even done the first part of traveling there, so that's pretty impressive. And he's been traveling since. I forget what else they said, but I know he went to like a waterfall, I think, somewhere. I'm probably completely wrong on that, but I think they said something like that. He's been traveling around, and that's really cool. I would like to do the same, because that gives you a lot of different opportunities and cool stuff to do as well, especially when it comes to ninjas, so that's cool. But anyway, they had the race between Isaiah and Jay, and they were close on the kickboards, and they were trying to adjust the final wheel. But Isaiah ended up starting the falling shells first and won, and Lewis also cleared, but Isaiah cleared first and he won. So that shows how these races are so competitive that you can clear the course and clear it quickly as well, but you still won't win because it's just that competitive at this point. And Isaiah cleared with the fastest time, I believe, at 1:24. So that's impressive. Let me make sure I'm reading that the right way, because I wrote fastest time 1:24, and that's meant. No, yeah, it was Isaiah's time, which was the fastest time on the course of 1:24. So that's really good. Then we're into the final 4. So we have Caden versus Noah Munier. Caden Levesque versus Noah Munier. And the interesting thing here is that Caden used to have a streak going, which is 99 obstacles, which is frustratingly close to 100, obviously, but still a very impressive streak, and very cool to have that. But I believe it ended on stage 2 a few years ago, I think. But he had a streak going at one point, and then I think that was a record streak at the time. And then Noah beat that with 129, you know, before he failed earlier tonight. But Noah has the longest streak still, I think, of all time, the longest streak of any ninja. So that's cool, kind of the battle of the streaks. I have a streak on Snapchat, but I actually lost it the other week by forgetting to respond. But that's the only streak I could ever say I had, at least, you know, the most impressive streak. But it was very close and back and forth on the course, and I was kind of rooting for them both equally because I like them both. But it's very close on the kickboards especially, and I really gained an appreciation for the kickboards on these races because it's a good obstacle for races, because you have to kind of, it's full body, which I think is cool for a race, because you want to have some lower body stuff as well, not just upper body. And you know, it's very technical. You have, especially the second one, you have to get the angle of it right, and you have to try to fix it, and you have to gauge when to go and when to kind of be more careful and when to risk it. I think it's a good obstacle for a race. I probably said that before in this review. I think I said it like 10 minutes ago. But it's still impressive that well, not impressive. It's still a good obstacle for a race. I think it's a smart choice for one. So I'm glad they put that there. It leads to a lot of back and forth and a lot of close stuff. So I appreciate that. And in this case, it's very close. And Caden got to the final shells first, but he failed the final lache, which allowed Noah to clear and win. So that was actually very exciting, because I thought Caden was gonna make it through the obstacle, because he doesn't really fall that much, clearly by his previous streak. But he failed the final lache, which is a very tough point because it's a backwards lache, like I said, and that gets a lot of people. So Noah had an opening and he won it. He was almost out by Caden winning, but he got kind of a lucky break by Caden falling, and he made it through. So that's good. Good for him. And then we have Caden, Kai Beckstrand versus Isaiah Thomas. And I noticed that Isaiah got stuck on the top spike of the ring jump, like the tallest one going down on the top. He got the ring perfectly stuck on top of the spike, which again I feel like might mean that's a square ring, because it's easier to get stuck if it's a flat surface. So it probably was a squared ring now that I think about it. But yeah, that was funny to see, like, it's completely stuck on the spike. That kind of slowed him down a little bit, but he made it through that. But then unfortunately he failed the salmon ladder, which is a very big way, a very surprising way to go out when you're at this point. But when you go fast, mistakes happen, obviously. That's what the risk is of going fast. In this case, you had to go fast, basically, to stay in the, you know, to go against Kai. But the trade-off is that you risk falling on surprising ways, just like he did here. And to be honest, I wasn't even looking at this part because I was told, like, oh, they're gonna keep going. You know, there's no question he's gonna make it through this. So I wasn't even looking. I was busy, I think, eating mac and cheese, I believe. And yeah, I was like, what? He failed? Like, I looked up, I was like, wait, what happened? And unfortunately he did fall, and season ended, and that's a tough way to go out. But in the interview with Zuri, he still said it's his best season ever, most likely, so he's still happy with it. But obviously it's a bitter way to end. You'd rather at least go out by finishing the course and it's close. I mean, that'd be more frustrating because it would be like closer, but it'd be more of a, like, okay, I went out strong. But, you know, stuff happens. He's obviously a very strong competitor, and it was just an unfortunate event of him going fast and it not paying off too much. So yeah. Then we have the final race of the night, and I'm getting ready for it with this. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna win a rematch with Kai if I keep doing this type of thing. But the top two, we have Noah Beckstrand. Wait, I'm combining them. We have Noah Munier versus Kai Beckstrand, and yeah, this is a very big race because obviously Noah has a great streak going, a crazy streak going up until about 10 minutes ago when he failed it on the last obstacle. But he still has a very good track record on Ninja, very impressive. And Kai is just very fast and very dominant this season. So it's a good way to, a very, like, I didn't know who was gonna win. Like, I was truly interested to see who would win because it's such a, you know, a very competitive dynamic. So on the course, it was very close starting with on the first few obstacles, like the stringing steps, the swinging frames, the ring jump. Everything was very evenly matched, which is good for the final race. And then on the clacker got a little bit separated because Kai pulled ahead on that. And it was still, like, he was still within reach. Noah was still within reach of Kai, but Kai definitely made a little gap there, just like he did on me on the race course I was on. But yeah, Kai was still definitely within reach of Noah, but he was still ahead. But on the last obstacle, it got close again because they were both on the falling shelves at the same time, and they were both linking it because they're very good. But Kai was able to get there a bit faster, and Noah failed the final lache anyway, which gave Kai the win. So Kai didn't only beat me, but he also won the show. So he has two very honorable accolades to put on his ninja resume. One might be slightly better than the other, but you know, they're both very impressive. So yeah, but Kai had a great season this year. There's no questioning it. He's very, like, throughout the season, he's just looked very strong and very competitive. And in these races, he's done great. So yeah, very good way to go out. Well, not even go out, but to win. So yeah, he's on a great season. And with a guaranteed winner, I'm not surprised that Kai would be the guaranteed winner of the season. So it's very impressive. And yeah, all in all, like, this season was, you know, like I said, it was pretty good, pretty competitive. And I thought it would, it'd be a close finish, and it was. I think they're pretty lucky that. But yeah, I was thinking during this race, like, what if it's not a close race? Because obviously it's the final race of the season, they want it to be close. But what if it was like the previous race with Isaiah falling on the salmon ladder? Like, I feel like that would have been a very unexciting way to end it. And I'm assuming they would still show it that way anyway, and they wouldn't like try to recreate it in any way. But this show is kind of sketchy with like faking stuff to make it look cooler. But still, like, I feel like they couldn't really lie about that. But also, if Noah fell on the stringing steps on the first obstacle of the race, like, how would they go about that? Because that would make a very, like, big anticlimax at the end. So I don't know what they do about that. I guess they've had a feeling that would be close because they're both so good. But still, they got lucky that they got as close a race as they did to end it on. It's a pretty engaging race. So yeah, they're lucky with that. Because I'm thinking, like, they'd be a very big, like, after all this racing and all the close stuff they show in the season, it'd be kind of disappointing if it was not at all close. So they got lucky. But okay, so I haven't been really covering this too much because it's just too much time already as it is to do these reviews. So I haven't even been bothering with these. But I must say, top 5 moments of the episode, just because they've been doing it all season. And I feel like this is big enough to cover because they were doing the top 20 countdown in all these episodes, and now we're on to the top 5. So the 5th best moment, the 5th best thing to highlight on the show, I believe, is Christopher Harding Jones and his dad's story as well about living wide, because his dad got diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 cancer. So it's very bad. And he came up with the slogan living wide, which means that it doesn't matter how long you live for, but it's more about what you do with it and how you spend it. I believe is what he said. So, and they have a shirt that says living wide and stuff. I think that's a really good outlook for when you have such a bad, you know, a very unfortunate circumstance, to be able to look at it that way and just do the most of what you have. I think that's a good way to look at things and a very positive, you know, message. I respect that, and they talk about how it resonated with everyone. So yeah, that was their 5th best moment, because it's such a good, like, you know, making the most of what you have story. And then Christopher's dad died in 2020, but he still won the show and represented the message and did well. So it's like it's obviously a tough story, but it's still, like, you know, making a positive message off something that's very tough. So I respect that. That's the 5th moment. I think that's cool. The 4th best moment of the season that they chose was not this season, but the 4th best moment that they chose of the whole show was Jesse Graff clearing stage 1, which was a very groundbreaking moment for the show, because it showed that women can also clear in stage 1. That was in season 8, 2016, and she cleared a very tough course that year. That was mostly the new stuff, and she did it very smoothly as well. So they talked about how big that run was, and how a lot of people were impacted by that, especially the female competitors, but also just everyone, seeing that how it could be done. And then how Alyssa Beard and Jessie LeBrecq cleared it in following years, and how she's kind of a trailblazer. So that's good. Jessie definitely deserves that. She's done well. So it's cool to see her get a top spot here. Then the 3rd best moment was the season 7 climb off, which is not only a best moment, but also a controversial moment, because a lot of people say that was kind of an unfair thing, and not really and very hard for Jeff, because this was in season 7 when they had Jeff Breen and Isaac Caldero both clear stage 3, which were the first 2 people to ever clear stage 3 in America on American Ninja Warrior. But they both made up stage 4 within the time limit, but Isaac did it faster. So Isaac won the whole $1 million, and Jeff got nothing, except for bragging rights, I guess, of getting 2nd place on the show. So people were very upset for Jeff, because he obviously did a lot of work, and he made it through the whole thing for nothing. And Isaac also made it through the whole thing, but he, you know, took the whole prize, and Jeff got nothing. So a lot of people thought that was unfair. And Jeff also cleared all 6 courses that season, and Isaac failed one of the semifinals courses. So people were kind of like, okay, this is unfair. Jeff deserves better. You know, Jeff deserves more recognition and more of a prize. And some people thought they should have split it 50-50 or something like that. But in the end, either way, this was a very big moment in the show, and very cool to see that 2 people could do it. I remember at the time I was kind of hoping that no one would do it, so I could be the first winner, but that was a very optimistic take for me, because even then it was still like 10 years before I could even compete, and I could definitely never actually win the show. But that being said, I was very optimistic to be the first winner, but it did not turn out that way. But yeah, that was a good moment, and cool, and it makes sense that they show that because that's a big moment in the show's history of having the first ever 12 victories, in my opinion, because they both won it. At least both cleared the course. But yeah, then the second best moment they chose was Vance Walker and how he had cerebral palsy, and the doctor said he could probably never even walk. And then he went on to be an amazing ninja competitor. He did well in Ninja Warrior Jr. Then he came onto the regular scene, the regular show scene. He made up the Mega Wall, I believe. I'm not sure about that, but I believe he made up the Mega Wall a couple times. And he won the show twice in season 15 and 16. And he's just been very dominant throughout the season. He didn't get to compete this year because I believe he hurt himself somehow. I forget how, but like he had some injury. But in season 15 and 16, the two back-to-back seasons that they filmed last in 2023, he won both of them in Vegas, which is very impressive. He got $2 million in the span of weeks, or the span of a few days, because they filmed them back-to-back, even though they didn't show it that way. So a very impressive result for Vance, and very well-deserved second place in this countdown. I never really watched those two seasons, or I never really watched season 15 and only a little bit of 16, but still, very good turnout, and definitely I've heard his name just based on how good he's been. So yeah. Then the best moment of the show that they chose, the first place, was Casey Cannizzaro in season 6, clearing the work wall and then clearing the semifinals as well. And this makes sense. I kind of thought they'd choose something more recent as the best moment, just to be more like, you know, like show something more recent and like, oh, it's gotten better over time. So I'm surprised they chose kind of an older moment, but I also think it's deserved because Casey kind of put the show into what it was today. Because when you think about it, like before that, if you were watching before season 6, you know that was a much smaller show. I remember like it was very like, people knew about it, but people didn't really know about it that much. And now if you say American Ninja Warrior, most people will recognize it immediately. They might not watch it, but they'll know what it is, you know? Like, everyone knows about Ninja Warrior and stuff like that. So that's, I think, mainly in part to Casey doing well, because that really mainstreamed the show a lot. And she went viral and all that. She was very well known for doing that, especially worked well. And I think equally the qualifying and semifinals, both those ones were very, very popular and very successful for the show. So I think it's well deserved that she got the first spot. I know people say that she's overhyped, but it's not really her fault because, you know, the show just chooses who to hype up. And she did very well in season 6. She didn't do as well in the following seasons, which I think people are like, oh, she's overplayed, she's not that good. But she did great in season 6, and then they obviously played off of that to you know, maximize their what they could get from her, because they always try to, you know, like get the stars. And in this case, she did very well in season 6, so she got the prize here. I think that's well deserved. And it makes sense now when I had Casey in the booth in previous episodes. I think they partly did that to promote the wrestling thing, but also probably partly because they got her for this anyway. They figured why not just have her for the booth as well, because they gave her like a little cameo of her like talking about how she's honored to have the best moment and stuff like that, and how cool it is to have such an impact on the community and viewers and all that, especially like younger girls and stuff that look up to her. So that was cool. And she said that the best moments are yet to come in the final race, because this was before the final race, which I obviously talked about the final race before this, but in the show it was the opposite way. But yeah, it was a cool moment. I think she's done very well in the show. She's obviously done with it now. She's moved on to other stuff, but still very cool. I think the top 5 is pretty well deserving. I appreciate all those moments there for sure. So yeah, but I do want to say this is my final ever review for Ninja, because it's just too much. Why did I choose to get donut then? That doesn't make sense. Because now I'm gonna what was I gonna say? This is my final season reviewing Ninja, because like it's just not really worth the time I do. Like, first of all, it's not very good reviews, I know. Like, there's nothing really engaging about this. It's just me talking about Ninja in my car when you could watch the actual episode. And it still takes a long time. Like, it's quicker in the episode, but still a long time to watch this as well. So it's not really worth watching this when you could watch the actual show. And like, I don't know, I feel like it's just not worth it for anyone involved, because I'm watching the show dutifully and taking notes just to make these reviews, which I like doing these reviews. Like, I think it's fun to give my thoughts. I like giving my thoughts and stuff. But like, it's not really worth all the time it takes and everything. I'm already doing too much. I'm already spending too much time like planning for this as it is. So I'm not gonna do this in the future. I appreciate this, and I'll probably talk about Ninja in some form, like maybe just on the back of other videos. But I won't do this again because it's just too much time. And this season, you know, I liked it, but it's not what it used to be. And I don't really like the racing as much. I definitely put up with it this season. I didn't mind it as much as I thought, but it's not like it's not like the show I originally started watching, so I don't like it as much. And you know, with that being said, it's just not the show I'm passionate about. I used to love it. I think I still would love it if it was in the old days format. But this newer format, like, I like it and I can definitely tolerate it. But it's not going to be, like, my passion or anything. Mainly because I'm slow at ninja courses, so I can't really race in them. And also it's because I find that watching them isn't as interesting as watching, like, actual, just, like courses with new obstacles and stuff. Like, I prefer the obstacles that are new over, like, races. That's just my preference when it comes to Ninja. But that being said, I've had a good time this season. I think it's been fun to review. I've definitely put some time into these reviews, and I hope you guys enjoyed them, and I hope you guys didn't watch all of them because I'd be a lot of time spent watching my channel. But if you have, thank you guys. I appreciate all the time anyone gives this channel, because you know you don't have to, and I appreciate any interest this gets. And yeah, don't stay tuned for more ninja updates because they're not coming, but stay tuned for more ninja challenges on my channel because I'm gonna be doing more obstacles and more other stuff as well. So stay tuned, please. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, whatever, like my video. Thank you guys, I appreciate it, and thank you for watching with me this season. Until next my next video, thank you guys for watching, and peace out.